Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome to another edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I am a public relations and marketing professional with a passion for social justice, voter advocacy, and culture. And tonight, I have some bright stars from the great state of North Carolina who are leaders when it comes to voter advocacy and social justice. If we want real change, we must involve the younger generations in the political process, and we need to do that early. We must allow them to become leaders. There's just too many older people, in my opinion, that I feel aren't willing to share their platforms. I think that they forgot that they were once young too and wanted and eager to actually do the work. Tonight, my guests are leaders and are making moves in North Carolina's political landscape. First up, I have Alicia Cook. Alicia is rooted in family values and her love of Black folks. She serves as the North Carolina State Organizing Manager of Black Voters Matter Fund. She is a Norfolk, Virginia native and a proud graduate of North Carolina A&T State University, an Aggie. Alicia began her organizing career over a decade ago. She leads with the belief that community care and connection are what will pave the road to our liberation. Welcome, Alicia, to the show.
Hey, Pam.
Hey,
everybody.
Hey, I'm so glad to have you here.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, Loretta, thank you for saying hello. Dawn, hey, Dawn. Hey, she said, hey, Pam and Alicia.
Hey, Dawn.
Next, I have Mr. Lamar Bryan. Lamar is a proud native North Carolinian. He's a proud native of North Carolina. He is a storyteller who merges his organizing and media skills to move people toward action. As the Triangle Regional Organizing Manager and digital narrative producer for both North Carolina Black Alliance and Advanced Carolina, Lamar is passionate about using storytelling to educate, mobilize, and empower Black communities across the state of North Carolina. Welcome to the show, Lamar.
Hey, Pam. Hey, Alicia. So great to be here. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And listen, I got to say, if I had to call out Alicia's school, you didn't have it in your bio, but I know you're an Eagle. So we got an Eagle and an Aggie in the house.
Absolutely.
And they're good.
Absolutely.
Okay. A few more people saying hello. Okay. Hey, Yvette. All right. Okay, so let's get into it, guys. Listen, I have friends in both California and Michigan in particular who have texted me and said, Pam, what is going on in North Carolina, girl? What's wrong with y'all? I think because people view North Carolina as a lot more, we're in the South, of course, but they view us a little bit more hip because we're very purple. We are truly a purple state. Mm-hmm. And so they're confused. They're really confused by the fact that the Democrats won the governorship, the lieutenant governorship, the attorney general, and yet our state legislature was able to take away some of the powers of both the governor and the attorney general. And so because we have like one too many Trumpers in our state legislature. So, and they managed to do stuff with such surgical precision against the Democrats. It's somewhat frustrating. So, Alicia, I'll let you talk first about what is going on with that.
Yeah, so North Carolina has had a lot of changes in the past, I would say decade. Mm-hmm. Specifically, really beginning and just as like a lot of states across the South, really beginning in 2020. And I think just with, how the state has operated in the past decade or so, are nonpartisan here at Black Voters Matter, but we do understand that there are folks that are in office who operate covertly, right? And specifically our legislature here in the state of North Carolina, they have a very bad habit of operating, like I said, covertly, making it so that our Black legislatures who, were elected to speak for Black folks across the state and disenfranchised and marginalized populations across the state, making sure and ensuring that they are left out of key conversations, whether that is a 12 a.m. midnight vote that they don't send out the invitation to, right? Whether that is a side deal that has happened between, one or two legislatures and they've gotten sign-ons and haven't instructed anybody about what's happening. So we have a history of, in this state, legislators who are in office and have been in office a very long time. I think that is across the United States. There are both on the state and federal levels, a lot of folks who have just simply, to be transparent, Pam, been in there too long, right? They've been elected over and over again. But the time has come to get those folks up out of there. Right. And I think that we are in the position now with everything that has been changing to reshape the world and to reimagine what something better for the people can look like.
Right. Lamar, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to just add too. I think, being growing up in a Christian family and understanding Christian values, I think that we can all say, and on this call, and both of Alicia and myself being a part of nonpartisan organizations, Christianity speaks for itself. But I would like to say also that we aren't, or our legislators are not holding up the values of Christianity. When you come to say things, or you lie about redistricting or gerrymandering or making sure that things are equal across the board. And when you look at, as Alicia said, when you look at times where scheduling may be off, or you didn't tell, Democrats or Republicans or whomever when the times would come that they would need to vote on certain maps, or you were just simply left out of these conversations. Right. I'm certain that when we talk about Christianity, we're not talking about just having conversation with those that enjoy having those conversations or are moved by the things that you vote for, but also those that are left out. It says, I'm certain, making sure that you are honoring those that you love, making sure that they are in conversations. And we're not talking about just those at the higher level. We're talking about those who are poverty stricken. We're talking about those Black folks. We're talking about those marginalized communities that don't get the same benefit from having money or having a means to be elected officials, like many of those who are making decisions. And so, as Alicia said, it's been, North Carolina, as your friends, I'm pretty sure Pam are like, what's happening? A challenge with truth and transparency is happening in North Carolina. And we, as young people, are tired of it. I'm certain that those that are in a legislature right now, as well as those that are teachers, those that are losing SNAP benefits, those that are confused altogether with politics in North Carolina and across the country, are tired of it. And so that's why you're seeing the craziness and the chaos in North Carolina right now.
Yeah. You brought up something interesting. I didn't expect you to bring it up. You brought up the Christianity part, because we are in the Bible Belt, etc. However, this, I don't recognize this Christianity that they're speaking about. And I dare say that if Jesus were to come back, he wouldn't either. So, right. So what we're really talking about is white Christian nationalism. It is not, it's being weaponized to go against anybody else of any other faiths or whatever. And that is not what the founding fathers intended. It is clearly outlined in the Constitution. It is not, we are not religiously based at all. You know, religion was not supposed to be a part of the things, but I digress. But if they're going to say that they're Christian, at least do what you be fair, be honest, be transparent, be all of those things that how you're supposed to behave. Yeah. You know, bad legislation is a contagious thing, and I want to show you guys a clip of what a sister said in the state of Virginia. And as you know, Virginia has a very, 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 very important race with the governorship and all of that happening this Tuesday in that state. I'm going to play this clip and we're going to talk about that. Hold on. Okay.
Example for you. Okay. In 2024, as North Carolina was electing a Democratic governor, its legislature decided to go from 7 congressional members, 7 Democrats, 7 Republicans, to 10-4. That gave them the 218 majority in the Congress. So you don't tell me that what happens in other states doesn't impact Virginia, because, Mr. Speaker, we know what they did with that majority. Some may call it the big, beautiful bill. I choose not to, but with H.R. 1, cuts to SNAP, cuts to Medicaid, letting health care tax credits expire so that health care is going to double and triple in cost to the families. And if you want to talk about rural Virginia, their hospitals might close because of this bill that happened because of a majority that was stolen on the backs of Black North Carolinians. And you can shake your head, but you can also Google it for free. And all of these issues, Mr. Speaker, guaranteed back pay for federal workers, all of the issues that are being decided right now in this shutdown are because of a stolen majority. So what happens in other states matters. And I am very clear, because I've been here for 10 years, that if they had the majority, they'd be doing the same thing we are. So this feigned shock, this moral high ground that you think you have, why don't we direct that to South Carolina's lieutenant governor, who at hearing that the Voting Rights Act might drop said, if we could get a clean sweep, I would love that. Texas Republican State Representative Brian Harrison, one thing that the Democrats said is true, the stakes couldn't be higher. Like the future of the Republic, the future of America could quite literally be hanging in the balance, because if we have a margin in the U.S. Congress less than 5 seats, our redistricting efforts here could quite frankly control whether or not Congress in the upcoming midterms falls to the radical Democrat Party. Another one said, so Texas is going to do what's necessary for Texas to stay on board. I am very clear what Republican unity looks like. And because I follow some of you on Twitter, I have yet to see you say anything about what your president has done. So now we're supposed to believe that somehow you would find moral courage, Mr. Speaker. They would find moral courage in this important moment. So spare us the lectures. Mr. Speaker, I have an example for you. Okay?
Okay. All right. Whew. Okay. She said a whole lot there, a whole lot. And so we're seeing this, right? Where what happens in one state impacts another. But what can we do about it? How do we unpack what the sister just said? Who wants to go first?
Lamar, because I went first on your last question.
Okay.
Yeah, I can go. I think that, it's important for us, as we mentioned before, to be truthful. And I think that just goes back to all of the foundation of our politics and the foundation of us as a country. And I think when we're talking about redistricting and gerrymandering and creating so many rules and policies. To me, I think that, a bunch of these rules coming out and policies and the switching of maps is because these politicians can't be truthful. So I think that in a way, you think about it as, we have a game that we're playing right now in NC Black Alliance called Blackopoly, and there's a video that talks about how when it comes to Monopoly, we don't get the opportunities. We don't get the homes. We don't get the cars. We don't get the land. We don't get all of those things. Those things are taken away from us, and we have to decide and figure things out on our own. But on the other side of that, on the other hand of that, our white counterparts are those who have the money, those who have the say so, those who have the means to speak up when no one else is watching, or in these smaller meetings or in these private meetings. They have the opportunity to speak up because we're not in those meetings. So they have the opportunity to fight the monopoly board clean when we're not in those meetings. And I think that redistricting and gerrymandering and all of these policies say just that. We are literally in a monopoly board game that literally does not allow us as Black people to seek opportunities and seek resources that are conducive and helpful to our community, because those have been taken away from us. And it's not because it's been taken away from us because we don't want to work. We're not intelligent. We're not educated. Because look at how many times, look at the degrees that are on this screen. And some of us can say when we have PhDs, when we have those master's degrees, when we have those bachelor's degrees, they simply aren't enough. And so it seems like when we start to build up and get our homes and get land and become Black business owners and entrepreneurs, those resources are simply stripped away from us. And this is the same way that it looks with redistricting and gerrymandering. It's simply like when we get ahead, we get knocked down several feet because they're fearful. People are fearful of the Black community and minorities taking the win, and that's clear. It's clear in our political arena right now.
Yeah.
And I agree, Lamar. And just to kind of jump in on that, there's a saying that, I'm sure you have heard, Pam, and Lamar, I know you've heard, is that as the South goes, so does the rest of the nation. And so I think being a Virginia native, I'm also from 757, shout out Norfolk, Shark City. But Newport News is a part of what we call the 7 cities, the 757. So Newport News is, like, in Virginia terms, right across the water. And that means you just have to go over a bridge to get there. So I also think Virginia tends to kind of fall into that same trap as what you were referring to earlier, Pam, about a lot of kind of what we consider like our deeper southern states don't consider Virginia to be a part of the South, right? And so I think a lot of that comes from, we have to know our history, and we have to know just the timeline of things that have occurred and happened in the historical context of the world in which we live in and navigate as Black folks, right? Because Virginia was the first state to codify slavery, which means they are the first state to have written slavery into law that says, actually, this is legal, and we are going to put it in law. We're going to put it in writing so y'all can, take these Black folks and do whatever you want with them, right? And so when we have to demystify what it means to be in the South. We have to kind of demystify the issues that are happening in our state and understand that what is happening in our state is not just North Carolina alone. It's not just Virginia alone, but these are issues that are happening all across the southern states, because the South and how the laws are written and how our politicians operate, the South always sets the precedent for how either our northern states are going to go, our more western states are going to go in the United States. And so everything that has happened as far as laws and policy making and rules and precedents and constitutional amendments started in the South. And so we have to understand that the issues that are impacting us and that we are facing we are not alone in that. And so once we understand that actually our brothers in, Virginia are going through the same thing, our brothers in South Carolina are going through the same thing, our brothers and sisters in Alabama and Texas and Florida and Mississippi are going through the same thing, then we can actually come together and put together a, plan for what does it look like to be cross collaborative across states? You know, what does it look like for us to have a main line and be connected and interconnected with one another, so that way we can all fight back together? And I think in this day and age, just to wrap up, y'all know organizers, we can be long-winded.
That's
but
okay.
Just to wrap up, I think we are in an age of individualism. And I want folks to understand that Black folks, we have never gained any progress as an individual, right? Everything that we have had, that we have fought for and won and put our bodies on the line for, came at a cost of the group and not just one individual, right? And so all of our movements, from SNCC to, you know, the Martin Luther King to Malcolm X, to all of our movements that we were able to make effective change, came from collective and united organizing. And we are not islands unto ourselves as Black people. And I want us to move out of that individualistic mindset is the white man's mindset, right? We don't live in a culture where we can just depend on ourselves and maybe our parents. Everything that we've ever done has required a village, and the village is what's going to lead us to liberation.
That's some tea right there for sure, because I can't remember which show I was doing, but we were talking about the fact that we don't have a leader per se, like this one central strong voice that is really, that can really mobilize the people. That's something we're missing. Even though I do think that with Reverend Barber and his Poor People's March, really and truly, if there were ever a time where Dr. King, what he talked about, if we could get Black people and white people together and realize the whole issue is economics. Stop fighting each other over a base of the color of your skin. When both of you, your blood runs red. I mean, it's the same. The deal is they're screwing us all. You're not getting any more benefits than me, because it's all about the money. And if nothing else, if we didn't see nothing else to this SNAP thing, Trump just had the USDA tell them, put a notice out just now that you cannot give any SNAP people any special breaks, no discounts. What is that? It's more. Go ahead, Lamar.
Yeah, I was just gonna say too, Miss Pam. I mean, you said we don't have anyone that is a leader that will corral us and mobilize us. And my question to that is, do we necessarily need one? And so I think, when we talk, just what Alicia just said, we have to be unified. But I also think that it is important for us for white people and those who built this, those who say that they built this country, to be true and transparent about where we were, so that we don't know where we're going. And I think that, it's tough, and honestly, when we're talking to our young folks, our young generation, our Gen Alpha, our Gen Zs, our millennials, we understand what history said to us, and we're not so moved by a lot of the craziness or a lot of the he said, she said, because we're researching for ourselves. And so I say that, do we really need that one person that will organize and mobilize us, or do we simply need to come together? And we need to hold people accountable. We do need to hold those that are accountable. Our folks from back in the day, our white counterparts who have not been truthful about the growth of this country. We do know that Black people have built this country, and although we don't, we're some of us, we kind of walk on eggshells when we're in politics or when we're in these different rooms with our legislators. But it is time for us to be truthful. The stakes are too high in our democracy right now to still be on the fence and not jumping one side or the other. And I think
Right.
that is why a lot of our elected officials struggle too, because while you're telling me that, you want to ensure that developers aren't coming into our communities, you want to ensure that, that we have what we need, we have the resources to survive, but also thrive. On the other hand of that, sometimes it isn't the decisions that are made and the stances of our politicians are not clear. And I was just talking to an organizer. She was about 22 years old, and she said, some of the folks who win and those who were, winning trying to win large elections last year did not win because they were not truthful. They were not clear on the stance. And I think that, when we're talking to our young people, because it might sound cliche, when we say our young people are our future, our young people are our right now. And if we're going to make sure that they are in and embedded into our processes, we have to be honest and truthful, because the young folks are speaking their minds and they don't really care about how you feel about what they say.
That's right. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Listen, Michael Hall says, the South does not set the pace. It only leads in red states' ignorance. If not for the safety of blue states, would be in some very real trouble. Let's not forget that it is the blue states that pay for everything. Just the facts we need to consider. Okay, Michael. Okay.
LOL.
Uh-huh. We got a lot. Listen, one thing about it, yes, waiting on one person is pointless. I don't mean waiting on anybody. I just think that it's good if there is if there's a central thing, to organize. To me now, that's just to me. It's pointless when no one is doing the inner work necessary for the change. Hold yourself accountable. That's true. That is very true. And words without actions is a thumbs down. Exactly. I agree with you. I agree. Ooh-wee, I tell you. Anyways, it's a lot. Here it is. Let's see. I understand, but many feel that way, waiting on Jesus. Aliens, not aliens. The president. Okay. I don't know who that is, but that's hilarious. Anyways, oh boy, I tell you, I don't know what the answer is, but we're gonna figure it out one day. We better figure it out real fast, y'all, because there's so much stuff happening. And I will tell you, Trump 2.0, I knew was gonna be bad, but I'm gonna be very honest with you. I had no idea it was gonna be like this. I don't care what nobody say. And I pay attention to politics every single day. Every single day. And
look, I'm going to say that, Miss Pam.
I didn't think this has shocked me. I did not think it was I did not anticipate to this degree of confusion and just pain. But see what he did, he was slick this time. And I hope that the Democrats or the independents or whatever, that's another thing that I've noticed. Corinne Jean-Pierre and some other prominent people have now gone from Democrat to independent. What do you think about that? I think that's interesting. What do you think? Alicia, what do you think?
I think we are in a time and an era where our elected officials lack principle, and they lack character. And so that is something that happens when you are not guided by your love of the people and the love of the community that you're serving, but in fact guided by how you can reap the benefits of serving said community. And I think those are two different things. Like if I'm getting into this work, I want to be an elected official because I want to do right by my folks, and I want my folks to have the best chances possible. I want to see better schools in the county I'm living in. I want everybody to be able to have access to eat and access to education, access to housing that's equitable and fair. And so rather than I see that these are issues going on, but I think that I can personally benefit from being in this office and attempting to work on these issues rather than how can I be a benefit to the community that I'm serving. And so I think, like I said, this kind of goes back to this individualistic, really white foundational belief. I don't think even as Black folks, like I said before, nothing we have ever done has been us as an island unto ourselves. We've always operated in loving thy neighbor as thyself, right? And so that has been a core of Black people, whether you grew up in the church or not. And I think that is something that is lacking on the other side of the aisle. And so that is something that you will see. Like when folks don't have principle, Pam, they're going to do whatever serves them best at that moment. And if that gives, a middle finger in the air to the community that they're serving, and young thugs, as he would say, Pam, whoop-de-doo. That's how they feel.
Oh God. Whoop-de-doo. Oh God. I mean, but if you say whoop-de-doo, when I hear whoop-de-doo, that means like deuces, I don't care. That's what that means to me. Is that what that means? Whoop-de-doo?
Yes,
dang.
Yeah, I think to your point too, Alicia, I think that we're, like you said, Miss Sam, there's so much happening in the political diaspora right now that some folks are saying whoop-de-doo. Some people are like, look, I don't know what's happening, and when y'all get it together with America, I'll be back. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, people are deciding, look, like I'm gonna get a dual citizenship. I'm gonna, I'm gonna move here, there, and everywhere because I feel like America can be such a hypocritical country because we're saying that we have the best this, we have the best that, but literally about 50,000 North Carolina veterans will benefit from SNAP altogether. But now that SNAP is being cut, these are veterans who fought for the country. These are people who fought for the country.
That's
and
right.
If you don't care about those folks who fought for the country, who had have been killed in combat, then clearly, we can't say that we are a country who is resourceful, who cares about folks. And then when we go to basketball games or football games, white folks are looking at us with a side eye when we don't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or the Star Spangled Banner. You know what I'm saying? And so at the same time, we can't say that, we are in a country that is home to greatness when we're literally living in chaos. And it's not just chaos from a countrywide standpoint, but when you're going down to state and local elections, North Carolina still doesn't even have a budget to decide on what is happening in North Carolina.
They didn't pass the budget.
And so while we're talking about SNAP benefits and while we're talking, even disaster relief recovery, for those who
I don't mean to cut you off. If we don't have a budget, then how was Governor Stein saying he was going to give 19 million for SNAP? Can he just do that, I guess, because it's an emergency? I guess he can, huh? I guess.
I mean, but even if you're saying that, $18 million is not enough. So,
I know.
You can give it, but it might feed a couple it might feed a good amount of families. And I don't want to say that, I don't want us to seem like we're ungrateful.
No.
As Black people, I think we've always had to settle for less than and have had to get the end
do
of the
realize that we are not the majority receiving these resources.
Correct.
Okay. Let us be very clear that Black and brown people are not the majority recipients anywhere of these SNAP benefits. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me read this one comment, Michael, again. Let's see. The truth is Black people are doing what is best right now, and that is organizing amongst ourselves, welcoming comradeship, and letting the evils of hatred and politics take care of itself. What alarms them, and they can't get us in the streets, and they don't know what we are doing. We will be okay. Okay. That must be somebody that you know. Lamar, Alicia's making some great points about politicians and something that must be addressed locally. Okay. All right. Somebody is just cracking up laughing. Not, I'll be back. Let's see. Michael, if Black folks remove the contributions locally, state, or federal, the country would fall apart. The sooner we recognize our power, the better.
Absolutely.
That is very, very true. Very, very true. I want to segue a little bit about talking about disinformation on these internet streets. And I know that that has to be a problem for you guys as organizers, because when people, you know, what they see in their feed, a lot of people they're not news fiends like me. I watch the news, I listen to the news, I read the news, news, partly because of what I do for a living. And then I just happen to love journalism. So they get their news from social media feeds, and not all of those social media feeds, as you know, are journalists who are fact checking information and what have you. And it's even weird with the disinformation going on now that even some good news about a celebrity is even fake. And I'm like, why are y'all doing that? And the why really is for the clicks and the views, so they can monetize what they have on social media and whatever. It's just really, really rampant. And when Trump came in, the 2.0 version, the big media companies social media companies got rid of a lot of their fact checking and, you know, a lot of that type of stuff. They got rid of it. And it's really not cool at all. I've also noticed a number of people doing political commentary similar to what I'm doing. Some like Stephen A. Smith, who is a sports guy. He is a sports journalist. He is. That's what he does. That's what he's known for. But he has decided to dip his toe into the political arena, and he's getting smacked back. Thank goodness. I've also noticed more Black men in this space of where they're kind of talking negative about Black women in terms of in the political sphere. And I'm wondering if that is not something that has been planted, where they're getting contracts or something to do to kind of to fracture a base or community. What do you think, Alicia? You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna pass it to Lamar first because he's the Black man in the room.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I'll speak from a Black man and also a storyteller and also someone who is a communications professional too. I think, you know, when we're talking about misinformation and disinformation, we do need to know that there is a difference between the two. So misinformation is when you like aren't intently trying to harm someone. So, you know, if you talk to your mom and she tells you some information that she just got off of Google and you share it with your sister, you know, that might, you know, you are not saying, you know, you're not trying to harm anyone. But disinformation on the other end is you spreading information intently with the intent to harm or spread misinformation or confuse the masses or confuse those in community. And so when we're sharing, you know, people thinking, you know, that those who are on SNAP benefits are solely 100% Black folks. That's not true. But on the other hand of that, I would say as a Black man, unfortunately, I would say it's kind of twofold, because I think that Black women, and you all can, you know, share what you think, but I will say that I don't think Black men have done their due diligence in ensuring that they are supporting Black women. I mean, we've seen that a number of times, unfortunately. We've seen it to where Black men will do Black women a disservice, not only in corporate America, but also when we are talking about Black maternal health and the health of Black women. You know, we don't come to Black women's defense when it comes to, you know, those things that happen when it comes to reproductive justice as well. And so I think, on the other hand of that, I would say too, unfortunately, white folks and those that are in leadership know the nuances in the relationship between Black women and Black men, and they play on that. I do believe that there is a strategy or a means for you to dangle a check or some money in front of a black man and he'll take it, if he needs to make the black woman suffer, unfortunately. And that's just the truth. You know, and as a black man, I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen it in politics. I've seen it, as I mentioned before, in corporate America, where black men, some black men will do black women a disservice for them to get ahead because they don't want women to lead. And and that's just me. And I don't know, if y'all want to share, but I think that with that, our elected officials and those that are in politics that have the most powerful piece on the chessboard, they say, hey, I know that black men, are using, sometimes use black women, and they use black women in a way that makes them get finished first. And so I think, and it's unfortunate, you know what I'm saying? It's unfortunate. And as black women, as black men too, it's important for us to really voice our concerns and tell our brothers, our dads, our uncles, that we have to do better. We have to do better in democracy. Black men, you have to do better in democracy, period.
I agree, Lamar. And I think there's always a saying on Twitter, Pam, it's like, black men are the weakest link. Some straight black men are the weakest link sometimes. And that's
one.
Yeah, they be getting ate up on Twitter, Pam. And that's because I think it's a twofold problem. I think, for one, we have strayed so far away from positive black men and black women relationships, like in the media. And I do think that there has been a concerted effort to prop up and pit, black women and black men against each other in the media, as well as just the taking down and the taking away of like programming. And y'all know, like in the 90s, all you saw on TV was, black men and black women like in relationships, from even the ones that in movies, even the ones that weren't the best, right? Now that, some of, like, for example, Love and Basketball, that's, but that was still like, that's something that we still have that's nostalgic to us, where a black man and a black woman got together, right? And just from TV shows, y'all know CW used to be UPN. They used to have so much black programming.
They sure did.
With black women and black men in households together, making it work. And we have seen like just the breakdown of that, and now you don't see that in the media. So I do think that plays a role into how, especially our younger black men, how they view black women coming up. And I do think our media sources now are so right-leaning, especially like, if young, my cousin was just with me 2 weeks ago, and every 5 seconds, I was like, what you watching? Because a lot of things, especially like on YouTube, different shows, you're thinking it's something positive, and you go watch it, it's something crazy.
It's totally crazy.
Yes. And so I do think that it has been a twofold effort as far as just the dismantling of positive black families on TVs, positive black role models for black men and black women together who have great relationships. And also, I do think that there is a push for more anti-blackness targeted specifically towards black men, that is pushing black men to aspire more towards kind of these white male, personality things. I think that's just kind of what I see, but we have to address our own anti-blackness as a community, right? And what does that look like? Colorism, all our things that affect, that affects us internally and stops our motor from, can stop our engine as we are in this car on the path to liberation. I always say that, but we have to address, look within, address some of our own anti-blackness before we can effectively push back against the anti-blackness that we get from so many different areas, and the targeted ways that they're coming against the black family unit and black men and black women relationships in the media.
All right. Wrapping up, what are some of the things from Lamar, from your standpoint of working with Advanced Carolina and North Carolina Black Alliance, if you had a a magic wand, what would you like to see happen within those organizations and in your work? Because of, the whatever ongoing issue that you see keep coming up in doing this work. Because I know organizing is hard work, but we know of a great president who was a magnificent organizer, right? So you all are doing the work, the necessary work. What would you like to see?
For me, I mean, we Advanced Carolina and NC Black Alliance, we have a GeoTV strategy that we have harbors across North Carolina, and so those harbors are an opportunity for our canvassers to go into like their office space. We have everything you need, from swag to snacks to door hangers to palm cards to shirts to hoodies, you name it, canvassers get it. But for me, I would love for our canvassers and just people in general to understand the power of canvassing. We talk about so much. We hear so many people saying, "Oh, well, I don't want to canvas. I'll phone bank instead." But I think that when you are truly hearing people at the doors tell their story, I tell canvassers often, when you are knocking at the door and a black woman opens with her child on her hip, talk to her about the importance of black maternal health. Talking to her about the importance of education, the importance of reproductive justice, the importance of access to health care. Listening to her story and then taking those stories and those individuals and pulling them in to let other folks hear those stories, because that's how we move. That's how we move folks. We move folks to action by other people telling their stories. And at the end of the day, we all have those stories. All of us in these boxes and those that are listening have a story to tell. Your story and your book may be longer than mine, shorter than mine. You might have a couple pages. I might have 100 pages. But I know that, when we're talking about our lived experiences as minorities, as marginalized people, we all have a story to tell. So I want individuals to know the importance and the impact of canvassing, but also storytelling too, because I know that we're so shy when it comes to telling our stories. We feel like, oh, like, my life don't have all of that. My life ain't too challenging, this and that and the third. But all of us have something to say, and all of us have a story to tell. And I hope that we, after seeing all the chaos in our country, after seeing all of the things that have come from legislation and bills flowing through every day almost, I feel that I would love for us to keep that fire burning. I don't want us to say, oh, well, I joked earlier about saying, okay, well, when America gets their things together, I'll be back. But I know that there is power in numbers. There is power in unity. There is power in us telling our stories. And last thing I'll say before I pass it to Alicia is, although Martin Luther King had his "I Have a Dream" speech, I think that people, when they hear that speech, I feel like they want to then build up Martin Luther King's story, or want to align themselves with that speech. However, I would love for us to keep dreaming. I would love for us to go back to dreaming. A lot of us as organizers, we don't get sleep. A lot of those that are working 9 to 5 and trying to ensure that their kids have meals on the table and clothes on their back, we don't get the opportunity to sleep. And when we don't get the opportunity to sleep, we don't have an opportunity to dream. And I do believe, and with my heart of hearts, that we can get it together and we can have a democracy that we are proud of and we are confident in, if we dream of a place that we would want to live, not only for ourselves, not only for our kids, but for generations to come. And so I think that, when we dream, the possibilities are endless. And so I want us to get back to that.
Okay. All right.
Love that, Lamar. Come on now. We don't sleep. So we don't, for real, like Black people, we are always working. We carry a lot. And a lot of times that shows up in, how well we are able to rest or not rest.
Right.
That was a good point. So you ate that, Lamar.
Yeah, I will say I can relate to that.
Yes. So I think just to add on a little bit, Lamar, is I think really folks understanding at BVM, we are called Black Voters Matter, but I think people just kind of focus on the voting part, right? So letting folks know that we do 365 work, right? Because we know that the issues that affect us as Black folks don't start or stop or end on election day. And everything, and something that we always say here is that, voting is just one tool in the toolkit. And so we have to, as Black folks, we have to use every tool that is at our disposal. And voting is one of those tools. It's not going to be the tool that gets us to liberation, right? Because if that was the case, we would already be where we want to be. But it is a piece of the car that's going to, drive us down that road to our end goal. And so I think that folks understanding that every issue that is happening, a part of that can be fixed through casting a ballot, right? And then a lot of that can also be fixed through organizing in your local communities. Like Lamar said, talking to your neighbors.
That part.
Getting them educated, right? If I show up in your neighborhood one day and tell you that everything that you don't watch on YouTube is wrong, you're not paying me no mind. But if I show up next week and be like, okay, I brought some literature for you so you can read a little bit on your own, tell me what you think, because I'm gonna be back next week. And they're gonna be like, oh, okay, great, I'm gonna see you next week. And then next week, they're like, actually, what I was listening to was wrong. So I'm glad that you brought me. We can't just tell people that, everything that's happening is everybody else's fault and they don't know what they're talking about because they've taken some information in from social media, right, and just repeated it. We have to give folks other options. And I think a lot of times we just see the road as is, but I want people to know that there are other paths. And so we are now in the cycle of finding another path. What's that old poem? It's like there were two roads in the wood, and I chose the less walked, or whatever whatever.
I know what you're talking about.
We are now in that era where we are going to have to choose the road that was less walked and forge our own path ahead into a bigger and brighter future. And I think we can do it.
I hope so. We got a few messages from some people we haven't heard from. Master Brian and Alicia are making great points about leadership. My question is, what next? Leaders are not leading, and the country is falling by the wayside. No SNAP benefits, etc. And then, yes, social determinants of health, public health. And Angela came back. TSA workers are not being paid. The economy is stretched to the max, and no one seems to care what happens next. Where are the leaders? What's the next plan? Dawn, I know Dawn is always working. She a nurse and NAACP president. Everything. Let's see. Lamar, you are correct, because dreams are only realized when we put the sweat equity into those dreams. The very best to all we do going forward. The road less taken. Dawn, tell us what that was. Thank you, Dawn.
Yes. I do want to jump in, Pam, and I don't know if you wanted to answer the question to Lamar. I'm gonna pass it to you after. But as far as like the question that Miss Angela posed in the chat is like, where are the leaders? We are the leaders. And I think that is something that just because we were trained just historically, of this big person that, led the movement. I'm a student of Ella Baker, and Ella Baker says strong people don't particularly need strong leaders. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't have or we can't have a central focus, but that just means that we all have to put in the same amount of work, right? We all have to give a little bit to get to where we need to go. We all gonna have to pull the rope. Right. This is literally a tug of war game, and we all have to chip in to either be the front, the middle, or the back of the rope that's going to, pull us so we can get the rights and pull ourselves up to freedom. So we are the leaders. And so I think once we kind of decentralize this idea of just having one big shining person at the front who's just going to bring us together, I think we have moved past that. Historically, just because with all the access and social media and just the ways that we are connected, we're going to have to go a little bit further than just having one big glowing person. We're going to have to all come together collectively. So that was kind of my answer to that question. Lamar, I didn't know if you wanted to hop in.
I'll just add briefly to the where are the leaders and what's next. As you said, Alicia, we are the leaders, but also there, as you said before, Alicia, there's so much you can do in this fight for democracy. You know, the organizers aren't the only ones who are in this fight. You know, as I've said to our canvassers, whether you are the janitor picking up the trash or wiping tables down after those meetings, whether you are the person that gets us the venue, whether you are the person that pays the light bill for us to be able to see the strategy when we are in the fight for democracy, whether you are the person that is picking people up to take them to the polling site to vote. There are things that you can do in this fight for democracy, and I think you can determine what you want to do. That's the good thing about politics and organizing too. You can put your best foot forward and say, "Look, I'm good at programming. I'm good at public speaking. I'm good at strategizing, or I'm good at driving a bus that'll take folks to DC when we got to turn up on Capitol Hill, like Black Voters Matter just done recently." And so there is something that can be done. There is something you can do to fight for democracy. It doesn't just look like what we're talking about right now, organizing. It looks like so much more. And so you pick. That's the good thing about being in this fight. You can pick whatever you want to do because we are all in it together, and we need each other to be better.
Well, what's that saying? If it is to be, it starts with me. We just, you gotta look at them. I'm looking at the man in the mirror, that whole song. We have to, we don't have to look to anyone else. We have to look inside ourselves to do what we need to do. Yeah. I tell you. Okay. All right. And Michael says, Alicia Lamar, and he didn't use my whole government name. You are the leaders, and this is the evidence. It starts with me. All right. Leadership is not about titles. We can all be leaders.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dawn. And Michael did tell us the actual name of that poem is The Road Less Traveled. That's the actual name. That's it. Yeah. I tell you, it's an interesting time we're living in. I wanted to show you guys something, one more thing that has just come up. And I think that this is something that our cities need to consider doing too, to help everybody through this difficult time. Oh, don't tell me. Oh, I see. Wait a minute. There it is. Okay, so the Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens announced an immediate pause on evictions and water shutoffs through January 31st of 2026 as SNAP funding lapses. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I think I saw this. I saw this post recently as well, and I think I say kudos. I think that we, as we said before, and as many of times, we have to be the spokesperson for our democracy. And regardless of how you feel about this president, that person, whoever else, you just got to speak up for ourselves. We have to be transparent. We have to speak up. And sometimes you got to be the person that's not liked. And unfortunately, if you are not liked by Trump, you might be doing something good at this point. So
because homeboy don't want you to even get a break. He don't want you going to the grocery store and telling people, I'm a SNAP recipient, and maybe that grocer might decide to give you a discount. He doesn't want that. You got to give him a discount. I mean, how, what the meanness, the cruelty, that is his jam. That's his thing.
Yeah. It's the audacity.
He gets off on that. He really loves that. And it's just sick. It's just really sick. Really sick. We will send you the blueprint to winning North Carolina. I don't know who this is. Atlanta Mirror is showing leadership. We have to consider the least among us. It is our duty. Absolutely, it's our duty. Absolutely, positively. Absolutely. Yep. He's just evil. Just evil. That's all. That's all there is to it. All there is to it. Any last parting thoughts you guys have before we sign off for the night?
No, just thank you for, allowing us to yap a little bit for with you an hour tonight, Pam, and bringing us on your platform. We definitely appreciate it. And I know, love the opportunity to be back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you guys, if you have other people you know that should be on or whatever, let me know. Because I tell you, that's one of my biggest struggles is, when you're producing the show, making the thumbnails, marketing the show, it's a lot of work and I work. And so, and you know what? I started this podcast because of your founder of Black Voters Matter, Latasha.
Okay, Latasha.
And I told her, because I had been contemplating doing something, and I thought if I did something like this where people could interact and would have you, it's much like a classroom in a sense where people learn and interact, and it sticks with you more. Because you got to participate in the process of the discussion. It's not like people are talking at you all the time. So, but it was her. And I told her when I did it, that because she had issued this thing during COVID. She says, do something. What can you do? And so that's what I did. And I'm going to tell you, it's a lot of work. So if you know of anybody, you guys in the audience, if you've got, if some of you are are running for office, if you have some friends who are running for office or whatever, you see my email address on the slide there. Please send me your bio, couple of paragraphs, a brief bio, and a headshot, and let's work on it. Let's see what we can do. And you guys are always welcome to come back, because we're probably going to end up having a big town hall meeting sometime soon, because it's so much. Maybe after this election, I'm just praying. We things have got to break in our favor soon. So in a hurry. Quick, fast, in a hurry. Oh, dear. Okay. Well, we're going to say goodnight to everyone. Thank you all for your participation. And we will see you again soon. Next week, we're going to have on some state senators. And
Perfect.
that should be interesting. Hopefully, I think our senator here from North Carolina, and definitely one from the state of Indiana, and maybe one more. So it should be an interesting mix of state legislators. All right. See you next
Bye.
week, guys.
Thanks for
Bye-bye.
having me.